Welcome back to Transaction Care. My name is Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily. And today we're discussing real estate transaction files and how to manage one, audit one, and checklists that are needed. I wouldn't say required, but needed. And as a real estate transaction coordinator, I know how much a checklist matters to me. So relying on one is truly what gets my job done in a efficient manner, in the right manner. And I really couldn't work without it. I've tried and I failed miserably. So to help you in your journey to not fail, to not fall, at least too hard, stick around. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so I know you're in it to win it. And if you want to learn more about myself, my coaching services, training materials, consulting, etc., visit transactioncare.com, where everything lives on that platform, from coaching, podcasting, training materials, transaction coordinator services, all that good stuff. But here on this YouTube channel, we're going beyond the surface, and I'm giving you guys just some free game that I've learned along my journey. Of course, everyone's going to do their job slightly differently or even better than I will. So, which is why I want everyone to share in the comment section anything that I may have missed or anything that I might have just touched the surface on, and maybe you could go a little deeper and explain that as well, because we are a community, and I think community and collaboration over competition is very important in this industry, because it is a small industry and we often work together. And there are times where other transaction coordinators have uplifted me in our correspondence, whether it was, hey, do you have this item? Or I'll say, hey, other TC, do you have this item? And sometimes maybe one of us have overlooked it, or our realtors have overlooked it. And you just have to remember, we're in this together to just get the same job done and get that transaction to closing. Which is why I think having a system in place to audit your files, to know when to audit your files, and what you're looking for when you are auditing files is the biggest part of a transaction coordinator's job, the biggest part of a realtor's job as well, if they choose not to have help, but also the main line of defense for brokers is making sure that the disclosures are properly disclosed, that everyone has signed accordingly, which is, again, a key role to it's the main job description, truly. It's what you're getting paid to do. So if you don't know how to do that, then I suggest you save this video or schedule a one-on-one with me, and we can go into further detail about that. But since we're here now, I want you to consider, again, I mentioned this several times in previous videos, but a transaction coordinator platform. And I don't work with any company specifically in terms of loyalty or brand partnership, so I'm not going to name any names of any TC platforms that you can use, but just know there are different ones out there that you can. I did make a whole video on how to choose the right transaction coordinator program, so definitely go check that out to just help you in your journey to not make such a huge financial commitment without knowing how to spend your money properly, and then you realized, oh, I paid for this service and I don't like it or I don't need it. But essentially, once you have your platform set up, or if you are quote unquote old school, then maybe you're using actual paper to manage everything, or an Excel sheet. Believe me, I have been there, and after getting a TC management platform, I realized, wow, I could have been saving myself so much time, so much energy, and so much stress had I just gotten one of these in the beginning. But now that we're here and we have one, this is how I manage my files. So at bare minimum, 3 audits, because legally we have to make sure we're checking the file at least 3 times to assure compliance and to assure that everything is complete and staying on track of the timeline, from expiration dates to making sure if a buyer and seller are required to sign a document that they have signed and dated it, from getting brokers or office managers to sign documents if necessary, to extending expiration dates if a listing agreement is about to expire, or maybe you need an extension of time for a ratified contract because maybe the lending is taking too long, or an extension of the contingency removals, because those are such key dates that if any of them get missed, and not all of it is on you, but a big part of your fiduciary duty and care for the transaction is to be a part of that, be a voice for your team to say, hey, just checking on, and your responses and follow-ups can be very simple. It doesn't have to be this elaborate speech. If you have the lender's email, you just say, hey lender, and make sure you're CCing your realtors in that email. Hey lender, how's it going? Any status updates if you haven't heard from them? Or hey other agent, any updates of what's going on? Would love to know. And that's a part of your audit, is making sure you're following up, making sure that you're scanning all of the disclosures for the right signatures. And when I say scanning, I don't mean like an AI tool doing it for you. Maybe there is technology that can right now. I don't know for sure. But for the most part right now, we're doing everything with our vision and scanning on my computer, document by document, every signature line, making sure that both sellers have signed, or all 10 buyers have signed, depending on how many people are on the contract. Or if we have to add a buyer to the contract, then making sure we have the correct paperwork. Because if you miss any of those things, then you're doing things out of compliance, and then that can just create more liability in the long run. And honestly, we don't want that. So in the process of you managing your sales files, which I have videos on listings and sales processes, but in this sense, as you're auditing the files, you want to make sure that you're checking those major points, and whatever your broker requires of a certain document. Because I've had transactions where, I've worked with brokerages where one only wants the buyers to sign reports, the other wants the seller and the buyers to sign everything from reports to tax records, everything that majority of the time only the buyer has to sign. So you just have to get in line with your brokerage as well as what the state requires. And the forms make it really easy. And if you usually go to the end of a report or an advisory or forms, you'll see at the bottom of the pages, initials, lines to initial, at the end, lines to sign. So then you know exactly for this specific form, they're always going to need to sign these specific areas. And if there are reports, like a home inspection report or a pest inspection report, where there's no signature lines, then you can add a stamp with making sure that there's like a statement, read and received, pages 1 through 10, buyer line, date, or seller line, date. Because that way you're not just having your client sign the top page, which if it's being taken to court or litigation or whatever the case may be, it could go against someone's, the seller saying, well, the buyer only signed the top page, so there's no way of proving that they got all 10 pages. So you just want to make sure that you're adding counting the right page numbers and including that in your packet, because that will really protect you and your clients in the long run. And throughout the process, you want to audit your file at least 3 times. So I usually do it the first 24 to 48 hours, depending on when I get disclosures and that signed contract. Within the first 24 hours, you're sending your timeline, upfront terms, and sending any requests for disclosures if you don't have them already. So within those first 24 to 48 hours, you should have everything in your inbox ready to process. Now your first audit happens, and let's just say it's a 30-day transaction. I usually go 7, 14, 21 as my three main audit points. Of course, you can adjust as necessary because not all transactions are 30 days. So within those checkpoints, 7, 14, 21, Typically, I don't stress over the file unless something urgent is happening. Always responding to emails. Thank you received. We'll work on that. If your realtor wants you to send their Avid for signing, then you do that on the spot. As well as maybe it's day 9 and you have some things to sign. You don't necessarily have to stick to those 7, 14, 21 day markers, but that has just made my life easier to have less decision fatigue, essentially. And between day 21 and 30, I'm still doing my regular check-ins, but by then you should, I wish every file was as perfect as this, but you should have a pretty much complete file by then. By that last week, you're just sending your final terms to make sure payment is getting paid, fees, terms, etc., and your final walkthroughs. Because by the last week, everything should be done, contingency should be removed, and you're good to go. And you got the green light to close. But like I said, these are just the fundamentals. We're not going to get into everything. If you want to get into more detail, definitely check out my TC community and become a member. There's a free option and a paid option as well. And definitely contact me for some one-on-one coaching if you're someone wanting to experience some breakthroughs in your mindset, or maybe you're just feeling stuck and unsure, you want to pivot in your career. And maybe it's not necessarily to be a transaction coordinator, because I am a certified life coach. Let's get on a call, quick 15-20 minute call, and see if we can have any micro breakthroughs in that process, and just take it one step at a time together. But yeah, I just wanted to open up this dialogue and just keep this conversation going to help you all in your journey. Maybe if you are a seasoned TC and just need to brush up on some fundamentals, this is for you. If you're brand new, this is for you. And reach out. I want to talk to you guys. Even if you don't have any questions, just say hi. But that's all I have for this week's video. If you have any questions, like I said, drop them in the comments or just message me directly. And visit transactioncare.com to learn more about myself and my services. And we'll go from there. Thank you again for watching. That's all I got. And until the next video, care for yourself, care for your wealth. Your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. Talk soon. And you know the drill. Here's some free game to watch more videos and learn more. And double tap my smiley face to make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already subscribed. Thank you for watching.